All right, we are moving on to role of the real estate agent. In this chapter, we're going to be talking about the role of the real estate agent. And I just got to be honest, I might have a little bit of a different view than lots of people have on the role of the real estate agent. And I think understanding and managing expectations is absolutely important. So for me personally, I think of the real estate agent as more like an air traffic controller. I mean, there's, all these things that are happening in the transaction, and they're making sure that all of them come in and take off on time, that nothing's missed, but trying to keep it from crashing. But there's also times where they got to call the plane back to the gate and say, we're not taking off. We're not doing that. The biggest thing, there's a couple of huge things, I guess, but one of the biggest things for me to look for if I was hiring a real estate agent is hiring a real estate agent that knows they don't know it all. Knows what their limitations are. Real estate agents, unless they're a licensed attorney, right? And there's some out there that are, but the vast majority of real estate agents aren't attorneys. They're not builders. They're not electricians. They're not plumbers. They're not city planners. They're not code enforcement people. Like, they're real estate agents. And I'm not trying to knock it, but you've got to stay in your lane. Or in my case, stay in the air traffic control tower and allow the pilots to take over, allow the ground crew to work, allow those other things to happen. So for me, the role of the real estate agent, and great real estate agents are great communicators. They have great processes. They hold you accountable. The best real estate agents that I know hold you accountable for what your goals are. Now, there's different styles. I'm very blunt. My wife would not get along well with me as a real estate agent. She wants something that's a little bit more soft. That's not my style, and so I may not be right for everybody. But when you're talking about the role of the real estate agent, you want to find, regardless of what that is, they've got to hold you accountable. I think real estate agents are setting people up for success or for failure if they allow you to get outside your budget. We talk about it when you're talking about going to look at houses. Make sure you're looking at houses within your budget. Manage those expectations. A good real estate agent is going to keep you focused on what your goals were, on what your needs are. They're not going to let you get too far off into your wants, or they're going to rein you back in where you say, hey, remember you said you didn't want to be more than 15 minutes from your office. This is a 25-minute drive. Like, they're going to focus in. They're going to point out the things that are going off track, because usually it's easy for you to fall in love with something. Bad agents, in my opinion, keep falling in love with the house with you. And I'm not saying it's totally intentional, but they're getting paid. Like you're going to hear me say a lot. They're getting paid when the house closes. And it's easy to fall in love with the fancy things. It's harder to stay true to what your goals are and what your needs are. So a good real estate agent is going to do that. They're going to hold you accountable. They may not always tell you what you want to hear. Lots of times, I find myself with clients, I'm kind of hammering on them when I'm talking to them, right? But then the script flips, and when I go represent them, I hammer on the other side. And it's kind of interesting, because I always want them to know that there's two different sides of me. There's the way I talk to them, and then there's the way I advocate for them and create leverage and negotiate for them. And those are two different roles. At the end of the day, the role of the real estate agent, though, is to do what's in their client's best interest, as long as it's ethical and legal, and to follow lawful instructions. So, if a client tells me that they want to offer a price and I don't think it's right, I'm going to tell them why I don't think it's right. I'm going to give them their options, and then we're going to go do what they want to do, as long as it's ethical and legal. Okay. So the other thing that, at least if you're in the state of Montana, and I want to show this to you, that's out there, is it's called the relationships in real estate. And what I want to point out is the role in the real estate agent. The role of the real estate agent can always it can look a little bit different, and so what's key for some people to realize, especially in the state of Montana, is that if you're helping a seller sell a property right here, your role as a real estate agent is to do what's in the seller's best interest. But there are some limitations on that. Okay, number one, if you have some knowledge about a buyer that's like from a previous transaction, you represented that buyer, you have to keep that in confidence. You don't pass that on to your seller. Also, if you know, and this is the big one in Montana, an adverse material fact, and we cover that in the chapter on owner's property disclosure, but if you as an agent know about an adverse material fact, you are required in the state of Montana, at least, to disclose that. You're also required to disclose if you know that something has happened that's going to cause the transaction to not close or likely to not close. If it turns out that the seller makes you aware that maybe there's somebody else that has an interest in the property or has a right of first refusal. If there's something that could happen that could cause the buyer to not be able to buy it. So the seller's agent is obligated to the buyer. They have to do everything in the buyer's best interest, but there is some safeguards in there where they are obligated to the buyer. And in fact, in this form, it says seller's agent is obligated to the buyer, and it talks about disclosing the adverse material facts, right? And you have to act in good faith with the buyer and the buyer's agent. Okay. On the buying side, it's the same thing. The buyer's agent loyalties are to the buyer and to the buyer solely. However, if they know something about the seller from a previous transaction or a previous relationship, I guess I should say, then there is some confidentiality that continues there. They also are required to act in good faith with the seller. So if they know the buyer doesn't have the funds, or if they learn something that the lender tells them that they don't really qualify for the loan, there are some things where the buyer's agent does have to disclose to the selling side an adverse material fact. So let's recap this. The role of a real estate agent, in my opinion, is to have a ton of contacts, to know who to reach out for when you have certain things, and to keep you on track. So a good real estate agent, before you guys go look at houses, before you're doing things, they should know what your goals are. They should know what your absolute must-haves are. They should know what your budget is. They should know what type of loan you're using to make sure they're showing you appropriate types. Now, they may need to work with the lender to know what those are, but if it's a rural development loan, you shouldn't be looking at a condo in the city, right? There's some obvious ones. So make sure when you're interviewing agents and you're hiring a real estate agent that you find somebody that you feel good about and you feel good that they know their role of what you need in that transaction, and that they're going to hold you accountable. A good real estate agent isn't afraid to have hard conversations with you and then turn around and represent you in your best interest. So that is the role of the real estate agent. Please, if you take anything away, think of them more as an air traffic controller that connects you to the people that are experts. They connect you to the roofing company. They connect you to the home inspector. The home inspector actually isn't necessarily even an expert. We go over this there, but they're going to connect you to the plumber who can come give a better opinion of it, or to the electrician. They know somebody who can install a radon mitigation system if you're dealing with radon. They know a surveyor that can come mark pins. They can coordinate all of these things and make sure you don't miss any dates. So that is really the role of the real estate agent. Yes, it's to put in the offer. Yes, it's to show you houses. But the most important thing is the communication, having the contacts, holding you accountable, and keeping the transaction on track without missing any dates. All right, role of the real estate agent. Let's move on.